Hey peeps, welcome back to the jungle. So, one scale shape, huh? One scale position to be a pro guitarist. Yeah, it's true. I can see the comments piling up already down below going, all right, let's smash this guy, let's slay him, what does he know? Everybody knows you should get out there and master those scales all up and down the neck. Every second YouTube ad will tell you that. Like, here's how to play your position all the way up the neck in certain shapes and that sort of thing. That stuff's great. And yes, I know how to do that stuff. So I'm not saying I never bothered doing that because it was a waste of time. But the thing is, you want to be as good as you can, as quick as you can. We all do. Who sets out to say, I'm going to take a good 10 years before I'm good at guitar? Whereas if a genie popped out of a bottle and said, how about 10 minutes? I mean, who would say no? So you want to get as good as you can, as quick as you can. The fact is, with one scale shape, you can be a pro guitarist. You really can. So if you're starting out soloing, your first port of call shouldn't be play everything all up and down the neck. I mean, it doesn't hurt to practice that as well, that's for sure. But your techniques for soloing, sliding, bending, vibrato, all these things are of far greater importance than how many places you can play the notes. So if you want to be jamming in a band on weekends where you're paid to play and people listen to your solos and they go, love it, sounds fantastic. And if you want to put yourself down soloing on a recording, maybe even a recording that earns quite a bit on Spotify or whatever, you can do it with one scale shape, depending on how much passion you can put into it, the techniques you put into it, all that sort of thing. So I've jumped ahead in my instructional videos here because, well, when I was a kid, I didn't look at folk artists on the TV strumming their nylon acoustics and think, I want that. No, I was looking at Slash with his foot up on a fold back wedge on the side of the stage, screaming notes at the audience, and it's like, yep, I want to shred. And I get it. Everyone wants to shred. So in the comments on my other videos, there's been a lot of feedback. People saying, oh, when can we learn to solo? When can we learn to solo? It's kind of like in the Karate Kid. When do I learn to punch? I get it. And so I'm jumping into soloing early. Look, guitar is a learning experience. If you learn this at the same time as that, I mean, there are advantages to doing things in a certain order, but if you're going to practice soloing while you're also practicing your chords, also practicing your timing, your strumming, all the better. The more time you have to practice any of it, the better. So we're going to do that today. We're going to learn to become pro guitarists by learning one simple scale shape. Welcome to the pentatonic scale. Okay, first of all, let's clear up some confusion. You do your music theory, you learn your music theory, and you learn about the major scale and how that's where you get your notes from to play a solo or sing or what have you. And then you learn about the relative minor scale, and it's like, look, you can use these notes to play in this minor key. And then when you come to solo, it's like, forget all that. You're going to learn something called the pentatonic scale. After you've just been told that the major or minor scale is what you do use to solo, now it's like, forget all that. We're going to change that when you first put your fingers on the guitar. Okay, why is that? Okay, now, first of all, if you don't know what I'm talking about the notes in a major key or a minor key, you're going to have homework. I'll put the links below. Can you please go back and watch my videos on music theory so that you understand where the notes and chords in a key come from? Because you'll need to know that. Someone says, let's jam in the key of C. You need to know what notes and chords you're dealing with, or what do I do? Like, how is it different to the key of G, etc.? So please go back and watch that. Understand that before you go any further with this one. Okay, the pentatonic scale, it could, honestly, if you did a search, it could be one of the most taught, discussed things there is on YouTube. I am definitely not the first video to be teaching you the pentatonic scale. So what is it? Okay, like everything else on this channel, I want to cut through the jargon. Just get rid of the jargon. penta, 5, tonic. A tonic note is the first, 5 first notes. Like, there will be some explanation for it, and I've never bothered looking it up. You know what it is in reality? It's the major scale with 2 notes taken out. That's it. The major scale with 2 notes removed. So let's put up, for instance, here on the screen, let's put up C. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Once again, if that means nothing to you, please go back and watch the music theory videos. There's our key of C. And so we have our C major scale with all of those in it. Okay, now, the pentatonic scale, take out the F, take out the B, the 4th and the 7th. Take them out. That's the C pentatonic scale. So we weren't lying when we said when you solo in a key, you use the major scale and then starting off in the pentatonic scale. All we're doing is saying, leave those 2 notes out of your major scale for now. Just leave them out for now. We'll think about them later. That's what the pentatonic scale is. Okay, I'm sure I know what your next question is. Why? Why limit the notes you have down to 5? Like, why do that? Well, there's a few reasons. One is, those notes are particularly colourful, the ones we took out. There's a certain sound you get by removing them. So it goes from the nice sounding sort of, oh yeah, like that, the pretty thing, to, whoops. It's a more neutral sound. You don't get the prettiness of the 7th and the 4th. So it creates a more neutral sound, which in and of itself is an interesting thing to do. One is, though, that neutral sound has a very rocking kind of sound to it. Suddenly you put the other notes back in. It's getting a lot more colourful. It's lost that rocking kind of sound. So that's one reason to do it. Removing those notes gives a distinct kind of sound, a very familiar one. Secondly, it makes the scale more usable over more chord progressions. And now what I mean by that is you're going to learn today that when you're in C, you play the C major pentatonic scale. But what if the C had a different chord in it that it shouldn't, like a B flat? If we were playing the normal C major scale, that B would conflict with it. So the 2 notes we've taken out, the B and the F, would conflict with a number of common, what we call accidentals. To recap, an accidental is when you get the notes and the chords in the key, and then you play something you're not supposed to. So if you write out the chords in C, and you play a B flat chord, you're not supposed to in the key of C, but it still sounds good. That's why we learn more than just the straightforward major scale. But what the pentatonic does, it enables you to keep going without having to think about note replacements. So if you're in the normal key of C, you can hit B like this. If they throw in a B flat, that B is going to sound pretty rotten. And when you get more advanced, you'll have to think your way around replacing that B with a B flat, which then creates things like modes called mixolydian and all that stuff you've heard of that's very exciting. But you don't want to do that yet. At this point, you want to be able to play as much as you can with one scale position so that you can do more. And what we're saying now is, okay, if we leave that B out altogether, then we don't have to think about changing it to a B flat because the chords did something weird underneath. We're not playing either, so we don't care. So that pentatonic will work over both progressions. So that's what I have to assume a lot of the reason for the pentatonic scale existing is. It seems like a strange concept to just take 2 notes out and not bother using them, but it makes you more flexible to do so over chord progressions. And it, first of all, on guitar, It makes it easier to play at first, so what the hell? But that's not really a reason to do music because it's easier to play. You want it to be better. And the pentatonic scale does have a great sound to it. Every time you hear that type of thing, it's the pentatonic scale. Now, let's get in and learn it. But one quick disclaimer first. When I was talking about how you can make a professional career out of this, it's true, you can. But when I talk about that sort of thing, I talk about generally listened to styles of music. Jazz, no. You have to learn unthinking numbers of scales to play jazz. To play like metal in a Phrygian mode, you need to know what you're doing a bit more than just a pentatonic scale. But for most forms of pop, rock, even hip-hop if it's got chords, for most forms of music which are not on the fringes, pentatonic scale, you can do an absolute pro-level solo every time just by learning not only just the pentatonic scale, but one shape of the pentatonic scale. Yes, it goes the whole way up the neck and all these other shapes, all this sort of thing, but just that one shape will enable you to sound great each and every time. Okay, let's learn it. All right, the shape is this. I'm going to put up a chord chart, only instead of a chord, it's a scale shape chart. What I mean is you don't hold all those notes down at once. You play them one after the other. And the ones marked with 1 are with your first finger. The one marked with 4 is your little finger. The one marked with 3 is your, ooh, yeah, good, I'm going to stuff that up, third finger. So let's put our first finger on the 5th fret or second dot, like that. And we simply follow this shape. So first finger, up 4 frets to the little finger, next string, back to the first finger, up 4 frets with the third finger, next string, first finger, up 4 frets. I keep saying 4, don't I? I keep saying 4, don't I? I keep saying 4, don't I? That's a disaster, sorry. I'm going to go back and start this again. First string, first finger on the 5th fret, then little finger on the 4th, next string, first finger, then third finger on up 2 frets, then next string, first finger, third finger, first finger, third finger, first finger, little finger, first finger, little finger. Okay, that is your scale. At first, practice just doing what you're doing then, all picking down and nice and slow. Try and get each note to come out just nice and clear, and then back down. That's your pentatonic scale. And when you get a bit faster, you want to alternate pick. So like, down, up, down, up. But I don't think you'll quite be up to that for a while if you're just learning this now. So, okay, that's our scale. So, okay, good. I can play straight up and down that scale. That's interesting. What we're going to do now is, first of all, we're going to look at changing keys and how this works in a key in the first place, because this would be lovely if every song you played was in the key of C or A minor. Okay, here is the scale shape again. The one that's pointed to there, that is where your first finger sits, that's your minor key. Then where your little finger sits, that's your major key. Now in the music theory videos, which I really hope you've watched by now, you remember how I said the 6th of the major key is the relative minor key? Okay, to get from the 6th back to the 1st, you know how we do tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So you go tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, and you're on the 6th. That means to get back to the 1st, you go tone, semitone. So if you think about the rule, tone, tone, tones, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So you go tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. Now you're on the sixth, which means to get back up to the first, it's just tone, semitone. Okay, have a look at your scale shape. Put your first finger back on the A. The A is the relative minor of C. Okay, tone, semitone, to get from the minor back up to the relative major key. How do you do a tone on a guitar? You go up 2 frets. How do you do a semitone? You go up 1 fret for a total of 3 frets. There are 3 semitones, therefore, between the relative minor and the major key. Also, a fret on the guitar is a semitone. So if there are 3 semitones between the relative minor and the major key, there are 3 frets. So if A is your relative minor, fret, 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 C is your major. Okay, time to learn your notes up and down this string, because now you know how to access every single minor and major key to solo in this scale. Say we had B minor and D. Or, okay, let's go with this first, B minor. Our minor key is our first finger. We put it on the B note. And if we play that scale shape from there, we're playing the B minor pentatonic. That's what you would use to solo in B minor. 3 semitones up from B to the D, our little finger sits there. We're in exactly the same scale. So D, that's what you would play in D major. So as we know from music theory, B minor and D major are the same collection of notes. So everywhere you go, whatever note your first finger is on is your minor key, your related major key is the little finger one up there in the same scale. So if someone said to you, we're going to play an A major, you put your little finger on the A and play the scale from there. If someone said we're going to play an A minor, you put your first finger on the A and play the scale from there. It's really that simple, and this has been explained a million times on YouTube, I'm sure. But that's what you do. If you want to play in a major key, you put your little finger on that note. So let's try one. We want to play an E major. Okay, we've got an E open string, but we can't exactly put our little finger on that, so we have to keep going up. Here's another E here. Okay, we want to play E major. We put little finger on it. Get the idea? Okay, if we want to play E minor, we put our first finger on that E. See that? That's how E minor comes about. So it's little finger for the major key, first finger for the minor key, same shape every time. And here comes a segue, just as I happen to bring this up. Your double dot up here on the guitar. I don't know what it's represented on your guitar, but see mine? See how there's 2 dots? That is the octave up. That means if this is an E, then playing that, which is the 12th fret, by the way, is also an E. Same for every string. A, D, D, G, G, B, B, E, E, like that. That is your octave mark, which means the guitar begins again an octave higher. So whatever you do down here, you can do an octave higher by doing it the same thing up above the 12th fret. So picture the 12th fret as your open string starting again. This is really cool. Reason being, if you learn your pentatonic down here, say we go back to where we were, A minor and C, like that. If we then find the same thing above the 12th fret, the double dot, so let's think this through. We started with our first finger on the A, which is the 5th fret, or the 2nd dot. Let's go up here to the 12th fret, which is where our guitar begins again. Let's go 5 frets above it, or the 2nd dot above it, and play exactly the same thing. like that. You've now got two places for the same shape. So you can play. See that? Two places to play the same thing. One nice and high, like that, and the other one down there. That contrast alone will give you that ability to sound great by only learning the one shape. As long as you can move it between move it between all the keys and play it in this octave and also up in this octave, you've got all you need to sound fantastic soloing in a bar on a weekend and have people go, damn, I wish I could play like that person. But what you need now is techniques. Techniques are not going to be the subject of this video because there's many of them. Bend, vibrato, sliding out, all this. There's a lot to it. We're going to cover that in future videos. For now, I wanted to introduce you to this scale. If you want to do yourself a great service at this point, practice just going up and down the scale. No, just do all down picks at this point. I doubt you're going to be there quickly enough that you can alternate pick to make it go fast. Then find it up an octave. Then change your key. So let's go, okay, I'm going to try and find the key of B flat. Little finger on the B flat, and away you go. And then challenge yourself. Go, okay, if that's B flat, what's the relative minor? Oh, that would be G. Cool. So that's where I play in G. Where's that up an octave? Find it above the double dot. Like that. And you're good to go. That's your practice for now. I do have a video up, and I'll put a link below on how to do vibrato. It's something to definitely practice for the moment so that you can play. You can make notes. Make them shake like that. That's a technique you definitely want to know. And in terms of keys, just keep challenging yourself. Where's the key of D? Now, what's a song I know in the key of D? I'm going to try soloing over it. And your soloing at this point should just be simply hitting notes, sitting on them, then go. You can start off going straight up the scale and straight down the scale if you want. That's a great way to start. And then just start. Even think of, just if you can learn the vibrato, great, but just get to phrasing a little bit. Play some of the notes. We're going to cover all sorts of ground with vibrato. Well, I've done vibrato. You can watch that video, but your sliding, your bending, all that sort of thing. And yes, eventually we will cover other places to play the same scale. Just remember as you go, that's the icing on the cake. You don't need it. You can step out in a bar this weekend and play if you're really good at playing that one position of the pentatonic scale. Now, you will sound even better again if you know it all over the neck. But remember, you can sound great by not knowing it all over the neck. And watch someone like B.B. King. Often, or even Eric Clapton does this quite a bit. They know their whole neck, but often you'll see them. You often see them choosing to not go out of the one position, and they sound great. So that's where we're going to do it for this week. That's where we're going to leave it. I will cover techniques and whatnot, but just get familiar with that scale, get familiar with finding it in your different keys and that sort of thing, and then practice playing it up and down, getting that finger strength and coordination going, and maybe look at the vibrato video and find the scale up the octave. Whew, this is hard work. Lots of homework here. But I'm going to do one thing before I send you on your way. I'm going to pull this in like this. And I'm going to realize it's now just focused on my head, which isn't what I was trying to do. Like this. And so I can show you close up what's going on. Okay. So this note is an A. If we play the scale shape with our first finger on that A, we're playing the scale of A minor pentatonic. Let's just call it A minor. Now, naturally, when we play that scale, the little finger will fall up there onto the note C. Pardon me. That is the major scale that relates to the minor scale. And hopefully you see this little bit of logic from our tone, tone, semitone, that we go from the minor, tone, semitone, and we've got the major, like that. So C, A minor, C, A minor, D, B minor, D, B minor, etc., etc. So then you play through that scale shape, you're playing in either A minor or C. Remember, what determines that is the chords underneath, not your scale. Your scale doesn't determine the key. The chords underneath determine the key. So practice just going up and down like that. You might want to simply do all downstrokes at first to keep it, because yeah, that might be all you're capable of. But now, the octave thing. The open strings here, up one octave from the open strings, is the 12th fret. Ways you can spot the 12th fret are, one, by counting. That's certainly one way to do it. Secondly, you probably have two dots like that on the 12th fret. Or thirdly, all of these images, I guess, rather than dots, have been 2 frets apart, then suddenly they're 3 frets apart. However you find the 12th fret, that is up 1 octave from your open strings, which means if you were finding your scale by going to 5 frets above the open strings, or the second dot, you can find it an octave up by going 5 frets or second dot above the 12th fret. And same rules apply though. First finger for minor key, that finger, in this case that finger, you're not really going to use your little finger up high like this, just whatever's comfortable. Yeah, there's variations on this. 1,000 different players do it a whole bunch of different ways. But basically, once again, the same scale shape. And at this point, I'm using second and third finger instead of the other. Same scale shape, exactly the same. It just started from the 5th fret above the octave. And that gives you 2 places to go for the 1 key. I hope that helps. I can't think of anything else to describe with that. You're going to be a little bit excited by your ability to play in key, but you're also going to be a little bit bored with your inability to do really cool sounding techniques with this at first. Give it time. It's going to come. It's more important you learn techniques like vibrato and sliding and bending to make this position sound monster than it is for you to go on and find 7 other positions for the same scale. All right, I have talked and talked. I'm going to go back to my coffee. Comments, let me know where I've got this wrong. Let me know where you go, I don't understand it still. I watched your whole video, watched it twice, and I still don't understand it. That's cool. If that's your feedback, please leave it. I'll do another video where I try and explain it again. I want you to understand it, and I want you to have fun.